After I inherited my grandmother's house, my neighbor forged a fake deed claiming he bought it from me. I thought it was a clerical error until my own aunt testified on his behalf, saying, "She doesn't deserve it anyway." I lost the house for 6 months, living out of my car. But when their scheme collapsed in court, they both lost their houses, their reputations, and their freedom, and I got the ultimate revenge by reclaiming everything they stole. My grandma, Ruth, lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the same small craftsman house since the late 1960s. She raised my mom and my Aunt Denise there. When my mom died young, car accident, I was only 15, Grandma became my anchor. I lived with her until I left for college. She always told me, "This will be your home. No matter what." She passed from a stroke at 84. In her will, she left the house to me, free and clear. Not to my cousin. Not to Denise. Just me. She said it was because I had no one else. Denise had her own home, her family. I had no one. I moved in after the funeral. Quiet neighborhood. Retired folks. Kids riding bikes in the evenings. My next-door neighbor was a man named Charles Heller. Late 60s. Widower. Waved to me when I moved in. I thought he was harmless. One Friday, about 3 months later, I came home to find a folded paper taped to my front door. Looked official. Notice of property transfer, new ownership recorded. I thought it was junk mail. When I opened it, it said the house had been sold to Charles Heller. My stomach dropped. It had my name on it, like I had sold it to him for $25,000. I'm no real estate expert, but I knew the house was worth at least $140,000. Probably more. I called the county clerk immediately. "Ma'am," the woman said, confused, "our system shows you transferred the deed to Mr. Heller last month." "No, I didn't." "You'll need to come in. Bring ID." At the county office, they showed me the deed transfer paperwork. There was my name. My supposed signature. "I didn't sign this." "Do you have an attorney?" the clerk asked gently. My head was spinning. I had no idea what was happening. I thought maybe it was a clerical error. A typo. But the signature, it looked similar to mine. Not exact. But close enough that someone unfamiliar wouldn't notice. I called a lawyer that day. My lawyer filed to dispute the transfer. Charles responded through his own lawyer. Not only did he insist the deed was real, he said he had a witness who saw me sign it. That witness? My Aunt Denise. When the court hearing arrived, she walked in wearing pearls and a smug smile like she was attending a luncheon, not stabbing her niece in the back. "I was present," she told the judge. "She sold the house. Said she didn't want the upkeep." It was like being punched in the gut. After the hearing, I confronted her in the parking lot. "Why are you lying?" She didn't even flinch. "Because you don't deserve it. Grandma never should have given it to you. The house belongs to family. Real family." I realized then, Charles hadn't come up with this scheme alone. Denise was in on it from the start. While my lawyer tried to challenge the forged deed, Charles filed for eviction. His lawyer argued that since the deed showed he was the owner, I was trespassing. Despite my objections, the judge ruled that until the deed was proven fraudulent, Charles had the right to reclaim his property. I had 2 weeks to leave. No family to turn to. No friends with spare rooms. And no landlord would rent to me because the court battle made me look like a financial risk. I ended up sleeping in my car. I parked in grocery store lots. Showered at the YMCA. Ate gas station sandwiches. I kept working remotely, doing tech support. But most days, I felt like I was drowning. Charles moved into the house. My house. He ripped out Grandma's rose bushes. Painted over the mural she'd made on the garage. One day, when I drove by, Denise's car was in the driveway. I nearly threw up. They'd stolen my home. And they were probably sitting inside, laughing about it. My lawyer hired a private investigator. First, we got a handwriting expert. She confirmed the signature on the deed wasn't mine. Not even close under magnification. Second, we traced the supposed $25,000 payment. Charles had written a cashier's check. Not to me. To Denise. She deposited it into her account and withdrew the cash within 24 hours. When asked about it later, she stammered, "Oh, she gave me permission to handle the money. I never saw a dime." The investigator dug deeper into Charles's background. Turns out, 5 years earlier, he'd tried a similar scheme. An elderly neighbor sold him her property under shady circumstances. She died before the case went to court. The family never pursued it. This time, with the forged deed, forged signature, fake payment trail, and a co-conspirator caught in the act, the district attorney got involved. Fraud. Forgery. Perjury. Conspiracy. The DA filed criminal charges against both Charles and Denise. At the criminal trial, Denise tried to backpedal. She said she was manipulated by Charles. That she thought the sale was real and was only trying to help keep the house and the family. Charles blamed Denise. Said it was all her idea. The jury didn't buy either story. The judge was brutal. You displaced an innocent person from her lawful home. You lied under oath. You forged legal documents. You betrayed family and community alike. There will be consequences. Charles, 10 years. Denise, 7 years. Heavy fines. And the cherry on top? Both their houses were seized to pay court costs and the forged deed was nullified. I got Grandma's house back. I spent the first night sleeping on the living room floor, just breathing it in. The walls still smelled faintly of her lavender soap. I replanted the roses. Repainted the mural. But I wasn't done. I bought Charles's seized house at auction. Not because I wanted it. Because I wanted to make sure no other predator used it to hurt anyone. I turned it into a transitional home for women like me, people chewed up by family betrayal and legal nightmares. Every time I unlock that door, I remember, they tried to take everything. But in the end, they lost it all. Taking back Grandma's house wasn't the end. I thought it would be. I wanted to believe once the judge ruled in my favor and they were sentenced, the nightmare would stop. But when people like Charles and Denise lose power, they don't just disappear quietly. They claw at whatever scraps they can. At first, most of the neighbors seemed supportive. I got cards in the mail. An older couple brought over homemade bread. But not everyone was happy. Charles had lived there for 30 years. Denise had plenty of friends in town. One morning, I found my mailbox smashed in. A dead squirrel stuffed inside. Next week, someone spray-painted liar across my garage. I called the police. They filed reports but said without witnesses or cameras, nothing could be done. Then came the whispers. She faked it all for attention. She set up her own family to steal their homes. She wanted the insurance payout. Denise's bridge club spread lies faster than I could refute them. I thought Charles and Denise were the end of my problems. They weren't. 6 weeks after I reclaimed the house, Charles's son, Brian, sued me. He claimed I had unfairly enriched myself by acquiring his father's property through what he called a biased and emotionally driven court decision. He wanted the house I bought at auction, the one I'd turned into a safe home for women. My lawyer nearly laughed out loud at the filing. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. But we'll have to fight it. Fighting meant more court dates. More attorney fees. More stress. I kept thinking, when does it end? Denise was supposed to be serving 7 years. But 2 months into her sentence, my lawyer got a call. Denise's attorney had filed an emergency motion. She was trying to get her conviction overturned, claiming she'd been medically unfit during the trial and manipulated into confessing under duress. If the motion succeeded, not only could she walk free, she could also try to claw back my house. I felt sick. The DA assured me it was a long shot. But we'd have to appear in court again. Before the hearing, I got an unexpected visitor. My cousin, Denise's son, Matt. He hadn't spoken to me since the trial. I assumed he hated me. But there he was on my front porch. Baseball cap in hand. "Can I talk to you?" I nodded, cautious. Inside, he looked around at the house he'd grown up visiting. His eyes landed on Grandma's photo over the fireplace. "I want to testify against Mom," he said quietly. I blinked. "What?" "I know what she did. She told me everything before the trial. I was too much of a coward to come forward then. I'm not making that mistake again." My throat tightened. Matt had always been quiet. Non-confrontational. I assumed he'd sided with Denise because he was scared or loyal. But now? He was ready to bring his own mother down. At the hearing, Denise looked frail and thin in her prison jumpsuit. She clutched papers claiming medical hardship, mental confusion, unfair legal representation. Then Matt took the stand. He told the court about the night Denise and Charles planned the forgery. How she bragged it would be easy because no one would question her authority as family. He had texts. Audio recordings. She hadn't just conspired. She'd gloated about it. The judge didn't just deny her motion. He extended her sentence by 3 years for perjury and attempting to obstruct justice. As for Charles's son, Brian, the civil court tossed his case out in under an hour. But my lawyer wasn't done. We countersued for harassment and malicious prosecution. Brian didn't just lose the case. He lost custody of his 2 kids when it came out he'd funneled money from his father's old accounts trying to pay for a private investigator to dig up dirt on me. It took almost 2 years for everything to settle. 2 years of courtrooms, threats, vandalism, lies, and betrayal. 2 years where every time my phone rang, my stomach clenched. But in the end, Denise was in prison. Charles died behind bars, heart attack. Brian lost custody and left town in disgrace. Matt stayed. We rebuilt some kind of family, though it wasn't easy. And the transitional home thrived. The first woman who stayed there? She now runs the place with me. 2 years after the verdicts, things were finally quiet. I rebuilt the house, inside and out. Grandma's roses thrived again. The mural on the garage, the one Denise painted over, I restored with a local artist. It showed a tree with deep roots. My roots. The transitional home became a success. We had donors. Volunteers. Even the Lancaster newspaper ran a story, "Local woman turns betrayal into hope." But I'd be lying if I said the damage didn't linger. Some neighbors still crossed the street to avoid me. Some whispered when I walked by. Let them. I'd survived worse. About 6 months after Denise's sentence was extended, I got a certified letter from her attorney. She was trying one last legal move. Suing for emotional distress, claiming my public statements had defamed her and caused her suffering in prison. I stared at the letter and laughed for the first time in months. She was rotting behind bars and still thought she could pull the strings. My lawyer didn't just respond. We filed a counterclaim. Why? Because during discovery, we found that Denise, even from prison, had hired someone to vandalize my property. The smashed mailbox. The dead squirrel. The spray paint. She thought she was untouchable, even locked up. The DA added witness tampering and conspiracy charges. Another 5 years tacked onto her sentence. Her lawyer dropped the lawsuit within days. I finally felt like I could breathe again. But I had one last thing to do. I visited Denise in prison. Matt came with me. She looked old. Tired. Her hair had gone gray. No pearls this time. Just an orange jumpsuit and bitter eyes. She didn't speak. Just glared. I laid a photo on the table. The mural of the tree on my garage. This is what family looks like now, I said. Not what you tried to steal. Matt leaned forward. We're done with you. She didn't reply. She didn't have to. The defeat was written all over her face. Charles was dead. Denise would die in prison. Brian had left the state, his reputation in ruins. I got the house back. I got justice. But the real revenge? They thought they could destroy me to get what they wanted. Instead, they destroyed themselves. And I built something better than revenge. I built a future they could never touch.